Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I'm looking at some Dynasty buys. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first player, Garrett Wilson, and I think there's a decent amount of panic right now with Garrett Wilson. Some people are saying that because Justin Fields signed with the Jets, Garrett Wilson won't be productive or whatever. And I get it. I mean, Fields hasn't exactly been the best for his fantasy wide receivers, but that doesn't change that Wilson is still a great wide receiver and has significant dynasty value and is still pretty young, which makes this a buying opportunity. So I've looked at Wilson a few times, but we'll go through his stats quickly from last year. 101 catches, 1,104 yards, 7 touchdowns, 154 targets, 5.9 catches, and 64.9 yards per game. A career high in catches per game, more targets than 2022, but fewer than 2023. And it was kind of strong for him to earn this many targets playing alongside Davante Adams for most of the year, who we all know is Aaron Rodgers' best friend. Now, why do I have Wilson as a dynasty buy? A few reasons. Number one, some strong advanced stats. 26% target share. That's pretty solid. 34.5% air yard share. 17th and 15th among wide receivers. But just a 62.8 catchable target rate. So that's a very low percentage. 86th among wide receivers. So some might say, well, I mean, Fields is awful, right? But it was so bad last year. Is it going to be that much of a downgrade on catchable target rate? I mean, 86 is really bad. So I'm not sure that it's going to be that much worse than it was previously. Now, the big thing was Adams last year. It changed everything for Garrett Wilson. He averaged 6.8 catches, 66.5 yards, and 11.2 targets a game. The 11.2 targets is the key number without Adams, but just 5.5 catches, 64.5 yards, and 7.9 targets per game with Adams. The targets went way down. And usually I would say, well, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter if another wide receiver comes in. But we know Aaron Rodgers is different. We know Aaron Rodgers has this bizarre preference for his own guys. And that hurt Garrett Wilson last year. Because right as Wilson and Rodgers were kind of getting things together, Davante Adams came in and, Rodgers just preferred him. But Garrett Wilson has earned at least 147 targets in each of his 3 seasons. So he's a proven target earner. And he wasn't a bad target earner, even with Adams. Now, if you're going to buy Garrett Wilson, I want to get a discount. I don't want to pay what the price was before, when maybe people were hoping it would be a better quarterback, not Justin Fields, a different option. So let's look at some of the options. Option number one, this is I'd say the least good of the 3. Buy Garrett Wilson for Chris Olave, who I don't want, Brandon Ayuk, who I don't want, and Marshawn Lloyd, who I don't want. So it's getting rid of 3 more toxic assets for 1 asset that I'm happy with. Is it probably about fair on value? Sure. But I'd rather have Garrett Wilson here. Now, the next one. Garrett Wilson at 22nd for Sam Laporta and Alvin Kamara. Again, I get to get rid of Alvin Kamara and get Garrett Wilson. It's pretty fair. But I am getting the 1 asset I like the most in Garrett Wilson, even in a tight end premium. And then the last one, not so fair. Garrett Wilson for Jalen Waddle in 206. I would much rather have Garrett Wilson. This one isn't close. So there were a variety of deals for Garrett Wilson. Some were even more unfair than these. But I would definitely explore the market on him because he's a very, very good wide receiver, and that has not changed. Second player, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. And you might notice these players are kind of based on things that happened in free agency. So as I discussed on the last video, the Seahawks signed Cooper Kupp. And I did mention in passing that if there was any buying window on Jaxon Smith-Njigba to take it. Let's dive a little bit more into that. So in 17 games last year, JSN had 100 catches, 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns on 137 targets, 5.9 catches, and 66.5 yards per game. He got off to a little bit of a slower start, but he took off starting in week 9. From that point forward, he averaged 6.3 catches and 82.4 yards per game, which would average for 108 catches and 1,402 yards on a full season. It's also kind of the time DK Metcalf had a little injury, and then, there were some issues. And halfway through year 2, which this was JSN's second year, is a common time for a wide receiver to take the next step. It is very common that at some point in the middle of year 2, you go from being decent to being really good. That is a very, very common breakout. And that's what happened for Jaxon Smith-Njigba. His game kind of evolved as well. So Why do I have JSN as a dynasty buy? Well, DK Metcalf's gone, and I do think there's too much panic with Cooper Kupp. So Metcalf was traded to the Steelers, as we talked about, which makes JSN the clear wide receiver 1 in this offense instead of just the 1A. And for me, Cooper Kupp is not a true threat to Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Who had more left in 2024? DK Metcalf, who just got paid $150 million, or Cooper Kupp, who was cut by the Rams and, who knows how much guaranteed he got, but it was only $45 million total. You would think DK Metcalf had more left. So I see this as Kupp being, instead of a 1A, 1B like we had with JSN and DK Metcalf, we have a 1 JSN and a 2 Cooper Kupp, who's 32 years old heading into the season. He's a shell of his former self. I've talked about this on the last video. You can go watch it. It's not good. The stats for Cooper Kupp are not good. He looked bad. So I'm not super confident in him moving forward. As for Smith-Njigba, he's just 23 years old. I mean, it seems like we've been talking about him for a while because we have. He was highly productive at Ohio State. He had that 2021 season, which was many years ago. But he did that. Then he was drafted in the first round. Decent as a rookie. Not what we would have wanted, but okay. And then really good year 2 breakout. We know at Ohio State, he had that breakout while playing with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., other players. So he's also earned targets and produced in the NFL. So all of these things say that JSN is going to be good. Now, buying him, there are a variety of deals. Actually, with JSN, I actually saw more crazy deals than I did with Garrett Wilson. This first one was wild to me. Buy JSN for 208, 26 second, 27 second, 26 fourth, and 27 fourth. That is insane. I mean, that's 5 pieces of garbage for 1 gold coin. That's insane. So I would do that, obviously. Buy JSN in 104 for Bijan Robinson. Okay, I get this one. I understand at least what someone could be thinking. But for me, if I could get off of a running back like Bijan Robinson at the most he's ever going to be worth, I mean, a really good wide receiver and the 104, I would do it. I would take the JSN side here. And then this last one, buy JSN for 26 first and Luke Musgrave. I mean, Luke Musgrave is irrelevant. So for 26 first, I mean, JSN is worth more than a single future first. JSN is a very, very good player, even in a 10-team league where the future first has, higher range of outcomes than a 12-team league. I would still easily take JSN here. If you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. Right now, I'm offering a 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT. Use that code at checkout. And you know what? Maybe we'll just continue this discount forever. A lot of people like it, and it's 50% off your first month. It's been a great way to get people to try the Patreon. So maybe this will just be forever, honestly. I'm loving the way it's going. And you can get my rankings, access to Discord, all my write-ups, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my why you should join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos. But with that said, I'll jump into my next player. So my next player, Chuba Hubbard. And I rarely ever buy running backs. Hubbard would be a rare consideration for me because his value has dropped after the Panthers signed Rico Dowdle to complement him in the backfield. So this might be an opportunity, not in all leagues, but it's a possible opportunity to buy a running back, which is so rare for me. Now, in 15 games last year, 250 carries, 1,195 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.8 yards a carry, and 43 catches, 171 yards and touchdown. He was extremely efficient on the ground. 12th in true yards per carry, 15 breakaway runs, 57 evaded tackles, and, performed well in traditional stats, even though the Panthers had some poor game scripts. But not super efficient during the passing game. I think that Rico Dowdle is going to take some of that third down work, even though that's not what Rico Dowdle was known for. I do think that we'll see Rico Dowdle more on passing downs of the two backs. Hubbard averaged 16.1 fantasy points per game in 2024, 13th among running backs, ahead of players like James Conner and actually notably Breece Hall. I'm not saying Hubbard's going to finish there again, but he might be a value. Now, why do I have him as a dynasty buy? Mostly because of the price drop. and the contract. Rico Dowdle's a nice addition, but he's not as scary as a day 2 running back would have been. The Panthers released Miles Sanders. They were not going to go into 2025 with Chuba Hubbard and nobody else. We have to stop saying that. We have to stop saying that players are going to go into a year with themselves and nobody. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen outside of maybe like Saquon Barkley occasionally, that type of player. But, even Jahmyr Gibbs has a backfield mate. So Jonathan Brooks is not coming back in 2025. Dowdle's good, but a running back at 57th or 74th overall would have been far stronger competition. Now, we know that Hubbard is younger than Dowdle. We know he's being paid more than Dowdle. And we know that Hubbard scored more fantasy points than Dowdle last year. So if I had to pick one of the two backs, just straight up, there's no competition that it's Chuba Hubbard for sure. Now, as for buying Chuba Hubbard, this is the one where I did look through the Dynasty Daddy trade database, and not every trade was good. There were some that were good and some that were not. So I picked out the ones that I thought were good. You're not going to be able to buy him in every league, but you will be able to buy him in some leagues. This first one, buy Chuba Hubbard for Adonai Mitchell and 210 in a 10-team Superflex. Okay, that's pretty good. Are you going to get at the 20th overall player a player with the upside of Chuba Hubbard? Probably not. Is Adonai Mitchell really ever going to be anything? Probably not. So would I do this deal? Yeah, probably I would. The next one, buy Chuba Hubbard for Aaron Jones. So both players are facing competition in the backfield. Hubbard is facing Dowdle. Jones is facing Jordan Mason. But Hubbard is 5 years younger than Jones. And also, if I had to pick who I'm scared of more, I'm a little bit more scared, I think, of Jordan Mason than I am of Rico Dowdle. Jordan Mason was really good, whereas Rico Dowdle was just good. So for me, I'd rather have Chuba Hubbard here very easily. And then this last one, Chuba Hubbard and a 26th third for Tyrone Tracy. That pick is not on the right side. I mean, this is going to sound wild because Hubbard's been in the NFL for 4 years, but Chuba Hubbard and Tyrone Tracy are only 5 months apart in age. So there's no age gap between the two players. Chuba Hubbard has done a lot more in his NFL career than Tyrone Tracy, who has not really done anything. And he had done something, but not consistently. And then of the two teams, the Panthers have way more invested in the backfield this year. They added Rico Dowdle this year. The Giants, I think, are going to add another running back because they added Devin Singletary last year. It didn't work out. So I do think they're going to add another running back to at least compete in that backfield. So I would easily rather have Chuba Hubbard here. But overall, I just like the idea of looking at buying Chuba Hubbard. Not going to happen in every league, but in some leagues it may be possible. So now we're going to jump into some Patreon questions, and then I'll close out the show. So the first one, if Omarion Hampton goes pick 20 to the Broncos, how would that change your view ranking of him, if at all? And then same question for if he goes 10 to Chicago or 12 to Cowboys. Well, I will say that at this point, I think most rankings assume that Omarion Hampton's going to go in the late first round. So him going 20 to the Broncos probably wouldn't change my view of him at all. That's about the median of what I would expect. As for if he goes to 10 to Chicago or 12 to the Cowboys, that would change my view of him. Generally, if you look at first round running backs, people group them all together and say, well, first round running backs all succeed. That's a terrible way to look at it. If you look at the ones that are picked in like the first 15 picks, they all succeed. And if you look at the ones picked 20 or later, there just don't happen to be any between 15 and 20. If you look at the ones 20 or later, it's not all of them succeeding at all. There's a lot of failures in there. So yes, that would be a huge difference because if you go in the top 12, you're essentially a lock to be a fantasy success. So those two things would be very, very different for me in terms of where I would value Omarion Hampton overall. If Golden gets higher draft capital than Tet, will he be the wide receiver 1 for rookie drafts? I don't think so. I don't think so. No. For me, Tet is in a tier above, probably actually multiple tiers above any other wide receiver in this class. For me, it's like if he's in tier 1, the next guy is definitely not in tier 2. Maybe tier 3 would be the next player. There's no tier 2 wide receiver in this class. So what's higher? I mean, if we're talking that Golden goes at 12 and Tet goes in the second round, yeah, maybe. If we're talking Golden goes at 12 and Tet goes at 15 or 20, then no, absolutely not. Are you a proponent of quarterback and wide receiver tight end stacks? Does this not matter to you? Do you try to avoid any stacks, or it's irrelevant? It's irrelevant, completely irrelevant. I don't care. Players change teams all the time. You make trades all the time. It is a dynasty league. You will be making trades. I'm not building stacks. I do not care. The only reason why I would care is if you're in a best ball dynasty league. If you're in a best ball dynasty league, like a best ball regular league, then stacking is very important to winning. That's a part of best ball. But if you're in a standard lineup setting league, stacks are 100% irrelevant. They do not help you win. It is a myth. It's been proven over and over and over and over that they're irrelevant. So, you know, take the word of that's not that kind of data analysis is not really what I do, but you can go and look at all of the studies that show that is irrelevant completely. So my answer is that it's irrelevant. Last question. Quarterback 2 3s, 13 to 30 range that could potentially perform above projections, and we should be trying to buy low or get as a throw-in. So, I mean, maybe Cam Ward, when he comes out, will be in that range. Might be a little low. Brock Purdy has been good for real life, pretty good for fantasy his entire career. I don't see why that would change. So that would be a player that I'm definitely in on. Yeah, I mean, a bounce back for CJ Stroud. I think he's still in the quarterback 1 range, but I'm definitely not out on CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud is very good. Those are a couple. If Trevor Lawrence is cheap, I'd still be in on him. I liked what we saw from Michael Penix. That could be someone, if he's cheap, could be interesting. But overall, I'm not always the highest on the quarterbacks in this range. You know, yeah, that's kind of the list there. But I do like building around quarterbacks. So if you're building your Superflex team around quarterbacks, I like a lot of these players. But in terms of someone jumping from there up to like the tippy top, I'm not sure I have a name who's going to do that. If there's one, it would be Drake May. But I think Drake May is a dynasty QB1 for almost everyone. So he wouldn't count for the purposes of this question. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty content year-round, covered free agency. Next up, rookies, which will be covered exclusively on the Patreon until the NFL draft. 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT. You can click on the link up there. Patreon.com/fantasy advice. I'm never giving that link up, where you can find my Patreon. Every sign up helps support my independent content, which is the YouTube channel. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.